Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back to the Synchronicity Podcast. I'm Nicole.
Hi, Megan.
And if you're watching us on YouTube, Shiloh is making a guest appearance as per usual, her cute waggling tail. Yes, yes, yes. We try so hard to keep her out of the studio, but she's a COVID dog, so she has some anxious attachment, so it's better than
anybody minds seeing the dummy.
hearing scraping on the door. It's lovely. Anyways, we are the co-founders of Synchronicity, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. We take old programming you were given in childhood and pretty much give you a new perspective on how to integrate it, heal it, and become a best version of yourself in adulthood. So today we get to talk about hot topic.
Wait, pause. Shiloh came in with her cookie and it says, "I heart you a latte," because actually today's Valentine's Day. So anyway.
Even though this will be posted after
So if
Valentine's
you hear her
Day.
eating a cookie, that's why.
It's cute. I think she's just been carrying it around. She's savoring it.
It's her Valentine's Day, the gift.
Yeah, she loves February. It's her birthday and Valentine's Day.
It's a great month.
It is a great month, especially for Shiloh.
So today we're going to talk about control.
Yes. And, we kind of touched on it in the past two podcasts. We've really been kind of jumping into deep diving like narcissism and empathy. How, they both really fixated on control, whether it's in one way or another. It's a completely different spectrum of control. And then in the autonomy podcast and strokes that we talked about, which was one before it, is all about other people wanting to control other people, right? And not giving them autonomy and allowing them to just be a human outside of them. So control is a really hot topic, I think, because so many people are control freaks and they don't even realize it until you say something to them and then they freak out. At least I used to be that way. And then I realized, wow, I was raised to totally try to control others to get what I wanted because it was a trauma response.
Well, anybody with abandonment trauma is going to have control issues.
Yeah, well, I got some of those.
Like even serial killers, right? They have just like extreme abandonment or some kind of extreme trauma.
Yeah.
And their control issues have gone to the point of playing God so much that they get off on controlling life or death. Like it's all control.
Well, it's crazy. We were watching that Jeffrey Dahmer documentary or like 4-part series about like, I don't know, for some reason, the whole mannequin part really was wild. Like he stole that store mannequin and he just wanted to like lay by it.
Because it can't leave him.
Yeah, because he was like, he had such severe abandonment trauma that he just like needed to control everything around him. And like in his mind, and he even talks about this in a lot of the interviews, it was just literally just this like severe abandonment from childhood.
Well, serial killers all have the same trauma, and it's mom trauma.
Yeah.
Like someday we'll look back at the psychology of mother and son and understand serial killers way more.
Yeah, it's wild. But like the abandonment and like Dahmer, I think Dahmer just like fascinates me mainly because when you look at his mother and the fact that she was on like 27 different medications, and then nowadays they talk about, well, like you can be pregnant and on SSRIs, and I'm like, has anyone talked about Jeffrey Dahmer's mother? Like she was literally on antipsychotics, sleep meds, progesterone, like you name it. I mean that in itself, like clearly there has to be a correlation between what happened in the womb and his brain.
Okay, trigger warning, and I'm also not a doctor, but I'm going to say something.
Here we go.
Why do you think autism is so high?
Oh, I mean, but also like the vaccines. What is it like?
But like also
30 vaccines by the time a child is 3?
Drugs and tell me the
100%.
difference. So if you look at a psychopath's brain and you look at an autistic person's brain, there's not a whole lot of difference. Now, maybe one doesn't have the desire to kill, but they're very, very similar. You cannot, like, autism is on the spectrum of being a psychopath. So you like drugs and pregnant women on drugs and pregnant women's nervous systems, of course, play a role in autism, or the autism rate wouldn't be skyrocketing. It can't just be vaccines.
Well, but it's also crazy because this actually circles back around to this podcast. If you ever work with an autistic child or someone on the autistic spectrum, they have almost like such a severe level of like, well, highly functional ones, highly functional autism, their control. They're OCD to a point, like you can't move a certain thing. They need a certain pencil. They need certain like structures, or they just completely lose their stability in their day.
There's also a reason that autism is higher in men than it is in women, because it's the same. The male brain is more easily damaged. And again, autism is just at an all-time high right now. So maybe you're a mother that wasn't on medication and didn't vaccinate her children, but still, look at our food supply, look at, family dynamics breaking down. How was your nervous system when you were pregnant? If you have an autistic child, 9 times out of 10, the dad wasn't taking care of you the way that you should be, because when you're under duress, in utero trauma is a thing. And there's a lot of very functioning, amazing autistic people. I have an ex-boss that's a billionaire that is on the autism spectrum. So, no shade, but it's really understanding what is causing this. And it's a high concern to at least me when I look at our culture and I'm seeing all of these ridiculously high levels of autism. It's not 1 in every 30 children. That's an insane statistic. It was 1 in 300 when we were children. So what the fuck is happening? That's not a coincidence. And those numbers are staggering. And they said that actually by the time that 2040 hits, it'll be 1 in 3 children. So, we got to figure out where we're going wrong and what the hell is happening, because, society is made to protect children, and we're not doing a very good job of it. In my opinion, we're causing more damage to children. And people think that parenting is controlling children. No, your job as a parent is to play defense, to get that child to 8 or 11, if it's a woman, 8, if it's a boy, 11, as pure and innocent as humanly possible. So you are defense. How do I keep all of these terrible human beings or, bad foods or whatever out of my child's life so that they have the best start?
Healthy control versus toxic control. And, if you continue to control your child after those ages, 8 and 11, then it becomes the root of a potential very serious situation. And the baseline of majority of all mental illnesses in today's society is control. It is in some way, shape, or form, it's a control issue. And you can break down almost every single biologically identified mental illness as some form of control. And nowadays, like you were saying, psychopaths, extreme form of control. There's always a baseline of it of playing God, and there's no trust in a higher power.
Well, and there's lack of empathy. Again, we're creating this culture and this humanity. Like, I just ask yourself the question: do you like the world that you're living in? And if not, do something to change it. Like, that's what Nicole and I did. I was like, this is not, like, I am not okay with this.
Yeah.
I'm not okay with how I'm showing up. I'm not okay with the way humanity's going. I do not want to live in a world or raise children in a world where humanity is headed. So what can I do to show up in my little world to make the world a better place? And if everybody asked this question and everybody stepped in and everybody showed up, maybe it's making art. I don't really care what it is, but like, show up, because that's what people are not doing. They're checking out of their lives. And they're saying like, oh, well, this is not my problem. Yeah, it is. It's everybody's problem. And there needs to be more love in the world. There needs to be more authenticity in the world. And when you're authentic, you are love and give love easily because you love yourself. And you're not controlling over who you are, how you're showing up. You just are yourself. And you're it's amazing when you stop trying to control everything, how everything kind of just falls into place. And you're like, wow. When I'm not looking at things needing to look this way or be this way or have it this way or blah, 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 life gets so much easier. It's like, oh, if that, we both have abandonment trauma.
Yeah.
And I just go, like, when somebody leaves my life, instead of like grasping onto them and be like, please don't leave me, I'm like, okay, well, you don't like who I am, or you don't like what I have to give, or you don't see the value of me being in your life enough to shift or, whatever to accommodate me being present in your reality. That's fine. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe you got what you needed from me and you can move on and all of those things. But I stopped trying to play God. And control is, in mother, right? We were just talking about being a mother. You are God to your child. So controlling their environment, not them, their environment is what's important. And it's just control. If you look at mental illness, it's all just the different degrees of control and how control is showing up in somebody's life that actually legitimately causes all mental illness. Anxiety is control.
Addiction.
Like addiction is trying to control your environment or deal with controlling pain. You know, it's actually just crazy when you start having a better relationship with control, which is actually control in general is not real, because even when you're feeling out of control, you're trying to control that. Yeah. So it's like it doesn't.
It's kind of a mind fuck.
It's not even like a thing.
Yeah.
And if you believe in a higher power and you believe in a good God, which you're asking in the last episode, like, do you believe in a good God of your own understanding or a bad God of your own understanding? And if you believe in a bad God, then you're a victim. And you don't believe that God shows up even in like crazy ways. I was actually listening to a podcast the other day, and it was saying like, if you're asking the universe or God, you know, I would like to deal with my abandonment trauma or whatever, then like the worst person in your life is going to show up and like you're going to be in the worst codependent relationship and it's going to like rip you apart so that you learn.
Yeah.
It doesn't show up as like rainbows and butterflies. This work is not like...
Well, but that's what everyone like thinks like manifesting is, and like that's not like the life hack is you either heal it or you repeat it. Like that's literally the life hack. And so many people like want it to be this perfect like Nicholas Sparks romance novel, and like it's not the reality.
Well, and it's also how you deal with adversity. Like, trying to control something instead of just seeing, like, okay, this is happening. What am I learning from it? It's trying to stop it from happening or keep it from happening again. Like, you just understand and you respond to adversity differently. Adversity is an opportunity, right? And so, like, even in, like, my last breakup and things, like, I showed up so much differently because it was like, oh, wow, that was actually a blessing. That wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is a person that I see myself with, like how God showed up in that for me. And, you know, the universe and everything. I was so grateful, as painful as it was, because it's like, oh, wow, these are lessons that I really needed to solidify. And I have done my best to solidify those lessons so that I don't have to repeat them. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually, it's weird that I'm actually super grateful for him in my life. Like, I would not take back that relationship at all because it really did show me how much you can change.
But that's the whole aspect of it. You stopped controlling it and you like just turned it over and like this is what you got. And you were like literally forced to surrender. Like there was no option. And, you know, when they talk about, we see it also, you know, the buzzwords, and we've talked about this on previous episodes, like narcissism and attachment styles. Like anxious and avoidant attachment are the exact same thing. They're just a different spectrum of control. They're no different than a narcissist versus an empath. Same shit, but different spectrum. It's all baseline of control. And so like an anxious is trying to control the other person and an avoidant is trying to control the other person. And it's this like vile cycle of just like, okay, wait a second. This person doesn't want to look at it, and this person wants to, like, overly look at it. But at the end of it, it's both of them trying to control the situation. It's a power struggle.
Oh, I mean, it's like men or women that cheat. It's all insecurity, right? They have to have people outside of the relationship in case the relationship fails so that they have an essentially other supply for love. Instead of being all in with one person, it's insecurity. And, you know, it's just wild, or control, right? Like you're saying, it's just wild when you start looking at things of like, you really don't have any control. So I don't know why I mean, and I was one of them. I don't know where you think you're going to get it.
Right.
Because the more that you try to figure out or control, the more out of control you're going to be, because you quite literally, whether you're male or female, don't have integrated feminine. of the flow state and of the surrender state of like so much of life, you know, and there's a lot of debates about this, but I personally believe in fate and destiny. When I look at my life, like, I mean, I had choice, but like the majority of it, no, I mean, it kind of just kind of fell into place. And,
but it goes back to all when you let go of like trying to fix them or trying to control your life or trying to, I don't know, whatever, like you take away, you look at life in a different perspective. It's no longer broken. It's no longer flawed. That person is no longer broken. They're no longer flawed. They're just a human. It's life. And like life is it happening to you or is it happening for you? And that's that choice of control of like, what are you going to pick? Are you going to pick a good God or a bad God? Are you going to be in control or are you not going to be in control? Are you going to let go and like trust? Or are you just going to micromanage your entire life to the point where like, you know, it falls apart?
Well, and I mean, all control is just fear of abandonment. It's fear of something leaving you. And, you know, as humans, if we don't have a healthy relationship with our idea of a higher power, you're going to be like mentally unstable.
You're going to drive yourself crazy.
I mean, if you think about empaths, you know, they are making another person their God by trying to fix them. And, you know, narcissists have a God complex, but it's literally control because they were abandoned as children and they've never been able to come back from that abandonment.
Right.
You know, they had a parent that did not meet their needs. And, you know, it's just crazy how light we take parenting and how, you know, it's not really discussed, like, and we'll do a podcast on this of like the different developing stages and like what's going on in those stages and like what parents hopefully look at during that time frame. But it quite literally boils down to like, are you giving and receiving love? And because children have mirror neurons, what are you showing your children? And, you know, with the divorce rate and the relationship rate being what it is, it's very scary because children are missing a parent. And, you know, that's cultural fault. You know, we're not putting the family first. We live in a very individualistic society it's all about me, versus for the greater good, you know, and it's doing what you want versus doing what is right. You know, and we live in a very selfish society.
Yeah, but that even comes down to the fact that like most individuals don't know how to be their authentic self. And if you can't, and you don't know your authentic self, then of course you're going to go into a relationship where you're going to be in control, like wanting to control the other person because you are insecure in yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's still reflected. It's a thing. It's a dangerous game.
Is it a dangerous game?
Absolutely.
But if you are curious about anything we mentioned in this podcast, mainly parts of it where we talked about autonomy, control, narcissism, empath, we have podcasts prior to this where we dove deeper into those two topics. Anxious and avoidant, we also did a podcast on that about a couple weeks ago, so go back through and you will find that one. But if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, share. If you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify, please comment if there's anything you would like us to touch on, like, and share. It is super good for the show. It just boosts our ratings, but also it allows for us to continue with the show. And then if there is any concerns, comments, questions, anything like that, you can always DM us at synchronicity_sisters on Instagram. And until next time, did I miss anything?
Just thank you for being here. We appreciate every single one of you. New, old, future.
Meg's good at gratitude. She always does that in the beginning, but I feel like we missed it on this one.
We did because I was talking about the Dalmatian.
Oh, that's right. The gratitude thing. See, circle back around. All right. Well, until next time. Bye. Bye.